Hi everyone, and welcome to F-Bomb Friday. I am your host Tracy Preston, but tonight I am without my husband Todd, but not to worry, he'll be back next week. So, me, myself, and I, let's hit it. On today's episode, we will be discussing our haunted hometown, Charlotte, Michigan. Both Todd and I spent most of our childhood growing up in this quaint little town in Eaton County. Charlotte is the county seat for Eaton County and likely best known for its Frontier Day celebration, the Eaton County Fair, and its high school sports programs. But what we just recently learned is that Charlotte is also well known for its hauntings. In the heart of Charlotte is one of Mid-Michigan's most notorious haunted places, the Eaton County Courthouse. The courthouse, having 5 stories, elaborate woodwork, tile floors, and a stained glass ceiling, was constructed from 1883 to 1885, and it served as the main seat of the Eaton County government for 91 years. Years ago, this big red brick historical site boasted 20 courthouse rooms, including a judge's chambers, courtrooms, employee offices, and holding cells for prisoners awaiting trial. It comes with no surprise that this building with so much history would hold so many mystifying and enigmatic occurrences. A great many of these incidents have been witnessed and reported by employees and visitors. These reputable witnesses have reported hearing strange noises, whispers, and voices. They also claim of hearing footsteps, furniture being moved, and even seeing apparitions appear and then vanish before their eyes. Many report seeing shadow figures out of the corner of their eyes, conversations with women who disappear as soon as they turn to look, and orbs of light floating down the hallways. According to the book Spirits Rising, Haunted Travels of Michigan, the authors write about seeing a black mass was a shapeless form of darkness that blocked out the light for just a moment. Many believe the spirits of some former convicted felons still linger within the courthouse, perhaps not being able to find their way to the afterlife or dawdling around to pay back the living for the injustice they were served in the courtrooms. The next stop on our haunted hometown of Charlotte is the Eaton Theater. The Eaton Theater was built in 1931 during the Art Deco era. It opened as a single-screen theater, and in 1960, a second screen was added when the renovations transformed the balcony area into a second theater. The story as it goes, the theater was named after Rick Eaton. He and his wife had both died inside the theater. Rick apparently was doing some painting on the balcony when he slipped and fell to his death. The story also claims that his wife, grief-stricken after the loss of her husband, shot and killed herself under the balcony sometime later. It is said anyone who ventures to the bottom of the theater, particularly under the balcony, will feel a cold breeze, which is said to be the ghost of Rick Eaton still lingering in the spot where he and his wife both lost their lives. However, after investigating deeper, it has been concluded that this story has been fabricated. There are no records of Rick Eaton owning the theater or of him or his wife dying in the theater. In fact, the original owner of the theater was Cash Beechler. However, many still claim to have witnessed strange occurrences in the theater, feeling cold spots, hearing whispers, seeing shadow figures, and feeling touched on the neck or shoulders to turn around and see no one there. Perhaps there are spirits that dwell within the cinema, and maybe more history than we know. Our last haunted destination in Charlotte that we'll be talking about today is Oak Park. Founded in 1845, Oak Park was the site of Charlotte's first cemetery. In the 1800s, the average life expectancy was much less than it is today. So it did not take long before the cemetery was running out of space for new graves. In 1867, a new cemetery opened up on the other side of town named Maple Hill, and after a little more than 20 years, burials at Oak Park had ceased. Sometime later, the city had decided to make use of the area of land by turning the cemetery into a playground. So the graves at Oak Park were moved to Maple Hill Cemetery, but here's the problem. Caskets from the 1800s were not built to last. Many of the caskets were made of crude wooden boxes that had just eroded away, and other graves had no caskets at all. The bodies had been buried only wrapped in shrouds. Due to the conditions of some of these graves, not all of the remains were recovered to be moved to the new cemetery. Some were not moved at all. Family burials were separated. Some only bits and pieces were moved. It was a complete mess. But in haste, and in order to get the task done quickly and easily, rather than correctly and respectfully, the cemetery was filled back in with dirt, and the playground was built. For years, visitors of the park claimed to have witnessed swings swinging on their own with nobody in them, even on days when the air was still. And this reminds me of the 1982 film Poltergeist, when the dad confronts his employer and says,
"The stones were moved, but you left the bodies, didn't ya? Didn't ya?"
Well, the park has the usual swings, slides, and teeter-totters, but one thing you won't find is a sandbox. And that's a good thing, because nobody should be digging for anything in this playground. Many believe that the spirits of those buried in the original cemetery still linger at the park. Angered that their final resting place was so disrespectfully disturbed, their bodies separated from those of their families, and the leftover remains scattered haphazardly. So, what causes hauntings? houses, buildings, or places with a history of tragic events, such as murders or suicides, are often believed to be more susceptible to hauntings. Some believe that traumatic events can imprint emotional energy onto a place, which may manifest as hauntings. Spirits may be linked to strong emotions of the past, such as fear or the terror of a violent death, leading to their persistent presence. Now, these 3 stories are just the tip of the iceberg for hauntings in our hometown. Charlotte is generally known for its history, but also for its paranormal activity, which places it among Michigan's most haunted cities. Perhaps you have a story, experience, or encounter of our haunted hometown. If you do, chime in, contact us, leave us a message on YouTube or at maliceinthemitten@gmail.com. We'd love to hear about it. And if you're not from Charlotte and would like to check these places out, they're all open to the public. The courthouse is now a museum and holds regular tours. The Eaton County Theater is open for business on the regular, and I suggest a good spooky movie when visiting. And of course, Oak Park is open to the public and is quite a beautiful and well-kept park for your family to enjoy. But please, be mindful and respectful of the park's past, and keep a lookout for swings that are swinging with nobody in them. Well, I have to say that I was none the wiser about these hauntings, hun. Being that both Todd and I grew up here, and I have been to all of these places many, many times. In fact, I remember going to the old courthouse in elementary school for a school outing where maple syrup candy was being made and bred by women dressed up in their pioneer garb. I can still taste that kind of nasty, sugary candy to this day. And to be honest, I was not a fan then or now. But still, clearly, it was memorable. I always enjoyed going to the movies at the Eaton Theater. It did have a spooky vibe to it, and I will always remember the stage in front of the silver screen. It was truly a stage that was curved in front with the old-fashioned light bulbs around the edges of it. You'll never see one of those again. I never have. I also remember as I sat in the theater looking at the screen that the right corner of the movie theater had like this big water stain or watermark on it, and that always creeped me out. Truth be told, I haven't been there since I was a teenager, but I remember it like I was just there. Now, I heard it's been remodeled inside, so I think Todd and I need a movie date so we can check it out. Well, thanks, hun, for the story. Our town, small as it was a great place to grow up. There's no place like home, no matter how far you go to get away from it. It's funny, but true. You always come back home. So, since Todd can't, I'll sign us out. Always remember to lock your doors, lock your windows, and you might want to check under your bed. And if I find a piece of that nasty maple candy under there, well, there it will remain, because I will never eat that again. So, thank you, everyone, and we will see you back on Monday for Malice in the Mitten.